Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 26th episode of Harold Davidson, the Priest DLC for Cultist Simulator. We've been carrying on in the Shires, so we still have Glaryn, Gladwin Lake, Crocus Hill, and Karaship to take care of, and we are starting to see a little bit of a dwindling supply of books. Now, of course, we'll be getting more as we carry on, but the main plan here is to just try and make enough money to kind of keep going on these expeditions. I do need to summon a new raw prophet. That will happen after we take care of the fervor as well as the restlessness. And then, essentially, I want to just try and run through as many vaults as I can until we sort of hit the limit of what we've been able to get from, as far as the secret histories is concerned. We've talked about this a couple of times, but just as a recap, because I don't yet have a desire, I can't go beyond the white door. To go beyond the white door to get to the entrance for the stag, or well, I guess the stag door is the entrance, but to get to the stag door, you need desire. In fact, we just read the Christopher Lopoli book that says as much. Because I've not taken an action to produce desire, much like I said on Valentine's Day, really, we don't have the ability to get higher level secret histories from the Mansis. This doesn't mean that we don't have secret histories available to us. We can get them through books. We can also use lower level secret histories to advance them to the higher levels. But basically, anything that we do to get to the higher level vaults and the secrets contained within that's going to be coming through some fairly not difficult means, but more time-consuming means. So basically, I want to use as many Forgotten Chronicles as required to sort of get the vaults on the continent, and then we'll move them up to Forbidden Epics, and then if we get that far, Forbidden Epics even higher, and so on. And the main aim for that is going to be to get our edge lore as high as we can, so that we can use that to get I think we need 21 edge to advance them to assassins. Once we've got our assassins, we can rededicate the cult to something else, and then the aim here is going to be to have sort of two sets of level 10 followers. But like I said, that's going to be the aim. Whether or not we follow through on that, we'll see what the playthrough brings up. I want to take a quick second here to refamiliarize myself with the situation. So Season of Ambitions coming up in 30 seconds. That may delay the production of the Raw Prophet again. We are upgrading Neville, and we will do so for the rest of the cult as time goes by. I may wind up using one of the restlessness in a sort of a recruitment or an advancement ritual, just so that I can get the Raw Prophet earlier. We could also probably use the rest. Actually, I don't think I could use it in the Raw Prophet summoning, because I don't think I would have enough of. Wouldn't have enough of the required principles. And then study verb. It's pretty obvious we're just going to keep reading the text. So I think we're in good enough shape. So the Watchmen will lend virtue to our lamps, that they will show us the perils to avoid. Probably. Not too worried about the pulsing airs. If I wanted to summon a percussagant, I would have tried to keep them, but really, unless I get... The ones I'm probably most interested in right now are Knock, Moth, or Grail. That which does not cease is not ceased. So another Waking Chant, we can use that to upgrade our lore if we need. And we will translate the Rose of Nuriel, marked with a triple sign of the arcane contemplative order known as the Sisterhood of the Knot in Greek. So we will translate it first, lock the study door, the work begins. And my scars are weapons, through striving I rise to victory, there is no defeat but annihilation. In the light of the bright edge we know ourselves, I pledge myself to the service of the strongest. Neville's gaze has grown furtive, his voice is sometimes shrill, he speaks freely of his dreams. Alright, so let's get a belated advancement of Pope Clifton. He has served us well. Now Clifton improvises new prayers rich with solar metaphors. He still shouts like a soldier and drinks like a sailor. And yeah, I think I will use this restlessness as trappings for the ritual. We're mud-spattered and thorn-scratched, but we've made it through. Actually, what would have been smarter would be for me to advance Eau Claire so as to make them I could add Violet and Eau Claire to deal with the dead, but we have enough edge to handle them, so that's not that big of a problem. Let's go back through the white door. I can now approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the Mansis. And Season of Ardor is coming up, so we'll get a contentment, although I don't expect to have any dread to cause any problems. At last their fervor is spent. What might they have made of this night? So, this is a worthwhile moment. I had the impression that we would always generate a restlessness as a result of doing a sort of a high-level sermon on Moth, but as you can see, there is no old, unhappy, far-off things. Now, that may be because of the Season of Ambitions, but there's no rule saying... I don't believe they're two separate cards, or two separate objects in the game, so I think I'm probably just trying to explain after the fact. I suspect I just maybe got lucky the previous times. In any case, I'm going to take a quick second here and grab... we'll grab whatever mystique we can. We'll do a reputation-based painting to get rid of the restlessness. Following that, we will take care of our... raw profit, because so far I don't have to worry about the tentative evidence, but I shouldn't bank on that forever. The colors of night. I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. I prepared the text for study. A volume of collected teachings of the Sisterhood of the Knot, that arcane contemplative order that existed in all histories, but in some were very powerful indeed. This is recorded by Nuriel and dedicated to Saint Tryphon. Saint Tryphon, Nuriel explains, performs secret miracles in the name of she who bleeds and bears, and she who opens. Thus Saint Tryphon opened the way to the house of the sun. Thus Saint Tryphon underwent the great birth, an ascension to immortality. And our devotion has drawn comment, so some money, but also some reputation. You'll notice here that the approach has basically been to let notoriety hang out on the table. An alternative way of handling it would be to get the heart followers to try and clear it out, but obviously there's so much mystique. The same things that cause confusion for the weary detective create confusion for my heart followers. So in this case, I find it better to just simply generate as many false leads as possible and kind of waste the Suppression Bureau's time rather than try to get rid of all of the evidence. I just I commit too many sins to be able to hide them all. All right, Pope Clifton. Clifton's devotions have grown complex. His eyes have grown wide and shining. His voice has become even louder. So let's bring Caro into the fold. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. And the dead are pale as inverse shadows. They move like cobwebs in a breeze. Let's go for the Lodge of the... I can't remember the order I was doing things in, but let's try the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Glimmering. My emotions run higher than usual. There are things I'll never understand, and those things will always be precious, but just now I am closer to them. I recall my dream. This was the Lodge of Blue Silk, flapping in the winds of the bounds at the Mansis edge, and here was its mistress, who welcomed me as she welcomes all travelers. Company is nice, she confided, but I still miss my Christopher. 10 years. 10 years and not enough. But we could not have been long together, not without touching each other, and you know what occurs when a man long lies with a long woman. Or perhaps you don't. I hope you don't. I won't tell you just in case. I will give you a tiny gift. So more glimmering. Again, we haven't been making much use of it, but that doesn't mean that we can't. Obviously, advancing our different types of lore will help out here. Sorry, I just got a quick text message I need to deal with. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just need to let them know I'm recording. Sorry about that. Okay. So again, I don't really see any value in using the dream slot for anything but the white door right now. If we can get a nice surplus of Forgotten Chronicles, that just makes my life easier when I want to try and upgrade them. And more importantly, yeah, Season of Suspicion coming up, so I pretty much need to have that raw profit ready to go. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. My recent work is considered notable. I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. No staleness. And a pretty decent return. So it's a net of 3 on that. Okay. So, one of the challenges right now is that I don't have a whole lot as far as materials to put into the summoning. This is sort of the drawback to my approach here. One thing I'm going to try, I don't think it will work because of the glimmering, but let's see if we can take one of these glimmerings. Invocation. No, I'd actually want to let's make Enid the assistant, so. Well, that's all moth, so I'd have to include Grail, yeah. Huh. Yeah, I think I've created a little bit of a problem for myself. Well, that's fine. I should have another option available to me. Oh wait, I don't, because that requires lore. So yeah, actually I do I do need to get an influence, which I wasn't thinking enough about clearly. Part of this is just because of the rituals that I have. So I clearly do not want to sacrifice a follower for this. That's a non-starter. The sunset right of the map's edge are going to require influence to sacrifice. Now that's fine, but I just don't have the kind of influence that's the most useful here. So the last option is the Rite of the Watchman's Sorrow, but that requires lore for an input, and I really don't want to give up this higher level lore at a time when I might be using it as an input for something else. So in this particular case, it's not great, but we're going to sort of rest on our old strategy of creating as much confusion for the Suppression Bureau while we get our affairs in order. So I will take, let's do a painting. Sorry, I just need a second here. Let's say, so Old Unhappy Far Off Things is not the best, but I will still use Sylvia because it's better than nothing. Something to remember them by, perhaps. So I use Sylvia as opposed to Porter just because Sylvia is a disciple and so has a higher moth aspect. Anyway, sorry. The dead are as pale as inverse shadows. They move like cobwebs in a breeze. Almost certainly they can't stand before us. We'll send them mumbling back into the shadows of the wood. When the dead return to us, they use what matter they can if their bodies are gone. Dust, rust, cobwebs, scrapes and tatters. Now that we've broken them, these tatters are all that remain. So I will spend on the paints. This is probably going to be something that generates staleness, but it's a chance for me to make the most of my free slot. And St. Tryphon began his ascension by passing the horned door. He contained it by learning the invocation Theatic, which Nuriel does not here record on account of its extreme holiness. And Nuriel explains grimly, to achieve the 7 marks of the Great Birth, St. Tryphon consumed both those whose soul had left them, and even those in whom the soul remained. So got an Agavine Rite, and the Megalesian Incantation. So that is one of the more relevant texts for this particular playthrough. I know I keep dropping these hints, and I think most of you kind of know what's coming up, but for those of you that don't, this is definitely a very unique ascension. All right, continuing on with the Sisterhood of the Knot, we will translate the Rose of Wanzai. Marked with the triple sign of the arcane contemplative order, known as the Sisterhood of the Knot, The fourth leaf has been added, disfiguring the sign in Greek. Lock the study door, the work begins. Treasures lie before us. So that's going to generate another notoriety. Not a lot we can do about that. And Cat Caro still performs in theater. Sorry, she still performs in theaters sometimes. Cat Caro, the posters say, finds the path. Cat Caro knows the way. And I do think I forgot to read her description before, so apologies about that. On to Porter. Porter plies his razor and his scissors to the great advantage of his friends. During lockdown, Porter's the one that you wanna be locked up with. You'll look good for your whatever the 1920s equivalent of the Zoom call is. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Right, my recent work is celebrated. My name is known, and my work has done well. So, dump truck of Mystique. Still no staleness, and again, net of 3, which makes me happy. Frankly, at this point, I think another painting. I'm gonna run the timer out by a little bit. Oh, actually, we may wind up with an influence. Well, if I wanted restlessness, it's right here. Let's try the Orchard of Lights, though. Well, I'm happy to get a Forgotten God. Last night I walked in the Orchard of Lights. I plucked the fruit, which is always ripe, and consumed it in 2 bites. The taste is not to be forgotten. As I licked the glowing juices from my fingers, I saw a message carved in the bark of the tree. When I woke, I recorded that message, all I could remember, in my diary. So, back through the white door. And yeah, we're going to wait a few seconds before we paint. It's just a chance for the notoriety to run down. I have a feeling we're going to be waiting a little while for the chance to summon, so. This one will be a portrait of Elizabeth. Once a lady, the air is stale and dust sifts worryingly down from the rock above, but the dead lie still. This chamber, with its chalked figures and ancient stains, looks promising. And we'll pay for the paints again. No exotic pigments or that. I may want to build sort of the special paintings, but we're not quite ready for that now. Prepared the text for study. The heretical teachings of a disgraced offshoot of the Sisterhood of the Knot, that arcane contemplative order that existed in all histories. This was recorded by Wasnai and dedicated to Saint Respicius. The offshoot favored by Wasnai, the true sisterhood, followed Saint Respicius in pursuing ascension in the name of the door in the eye, the merciless hour of light. St. Respicius failed, perhaps because the larger sisterhood tracked him down and ritually strangled him, but Wasnai outlined steps for those who hope to succeed. I've mispronounced this so many times that I gotta break the habit. Right, a light in the skull, so that's going to give me some erudition. Whenever the principle of lantern sheds its light, I may recall additional scraps of knowledge. In a lead-lined sarcophagus lies the skeleton of a woman. She wasn't buried here. It looks like she crawled in to die. Something has happened to the shape of her skull, pushing out at the jaw like the muzzle of a beast. Scraps of rotting linen swathe her bones. Treasures lie among the remains of her clutching hands between her ribs. So, extra notoriety for my trouble. Thank you, Percussagant and Hint. And we've got a bronze Spintrea. Betty's Blade. Now, this is going to be helpful in recruitment. And the cracked Wildering Mirror. So I may want to repair that. They give me the bronze to repair it already. And at this point, I think, honestly, just heading straight to straight to the next expedition is the done thing. I could do... So I just want to talk about what some of my alternatives are. So in order to try and do the summoning, I could explore the city, hire someone, and use them in the ritual. Now, that's going to have other consequences, but one of the biggest problems with it is that it's slow. So we may be at a point where it turns into damning evidence before we find, before we find a suitable candidate. So in this case, I think it's better to just, acknowledge that we're in a little bit of a tough spot. Proceed as normal. We don't need money, so I don't need to go to Oriflamme's. Just move on, get the books that we can, and, the more books we get, the more likely we'll find a ritual, the more likely we are to, just have the natural course of time produce the kinds of influences that we need. So again, it's one where I may be a little concerned because I don't have full control of the situation. But it's one where I feel comfortable enough that we're gonna get through. That I'm not at like hair on fire level yet. Although again, damning evidence is something I need to deal with, and I don't have anything other than a level 5 follower to work with it. So it is something I need to take somewhat seriously. Gwere Inn. At a crumbling cliff above a grey sea, the Gwere Inn squats until the day the sea comes for it. It receives few guests, fewer since the owner closed his notorious library to visiting scholars. So of course, this also has the bonus of preserving the precussigent and the hint. They've worked rather well for us on our expeditions. We can reserve rooms at the inn easily enough, but we can expect the locals, if they divine our intentions, to turn nasty. And if the library is still there, it will be well hidden. So lantern definitely is a perk there. The threat of violence tells me edge would be good as well, but no promises. Porter goes unnoticed until he's ready. I thought I had a third moth disciple. All right. On to Tristan. Tristan dislikes distractions. Tristan likes results. Oh, I should take a second here and see the numbers. Okay, winter won't help me here. Let's go to the Orchard of Lights. Glimmering it is. The sun in splendor, the hour who once ruled the Mansis, was known to walk in the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes his remnants walk here still. Sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Menascate through the trees, or the chillier radiance of the sun in rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be my end, but to see them in the distance is the gift of insight. Okay. I don't recall if I had a vitality kicking around. 48 seconds, so maybe a painting would be good to handle that. Oh yeah, it's Isabet who was, I forgot. It's easy to forget the moth followers. In fact, if we go to the description, he's a bit sleeps in fit. Oh no, sorry. I think it's the other text I'm thinking of. So this earned us a staleness, not as much of a return as well. I mean, it was okay. It's a little, I think, a little worse than if we'd done the sermon. But what I'm going to do here, because I do need to wait the 55 seconds on the on the disease, I'm going to do a mood piece on vitality just to keep my heart beating a little longer. Well, my heart will always beat, but the strong beat, the one that keeps me healthy. We need to preserve that. Dusty facts have become clear in my brain, for now at least. I might as well spend on the paints. Oh yeah, that's right, if I spent... Yeah, no, sorry, if I spent them on the paints... Yeah, we were still one ahead, but we're getting at the point where that may not give me quite the return that I expect. Oh! Forge or knock. So we're in a little bit of a tougher spot here. We will add Enid and Neville to deal with the door. Day finished. Exceptional work. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. And Seek in dreams, seek the mansis. The third mark can be achieved only when one has passed the stag door. One must pass the wood. One must rise to the white door. The stag door awaits the light bearer in the sight of Gearby. So we've got Chiliarch's Lesson and a Mansis Glimpse. So these aren't necessarily going to give us too much, but again, every little bit of lore is helping at this point because we're going to be relying on upgrading and subverting. Moving on, Lord Franklin Bancroft, Diaries, 1750 to 1790. The notorious journal of a notorious gentleman, written in Latin, no doubt for the sake of safety. This one's a bit of a treat. On the study door, the work begins. And the artist's reward, my recent work is celebrated, my name is known, and my work has done well. Actually, I mean, as far as a return is concerned, it did well as well, so... we might actually be able to run out the clock on the tentative evidence looking at this. So that might be my new strategy while we wait for a new raw profit. That's gonna kind of really mess with my... oh yeah, actually there's a limit to what we can do with that because of the notoriety we're gonna get from this last expedition. But let's actually run with this as long as we can. So it's 46 seconds. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to sit on my hands and let time go by. So our strength is matchless. The Watchers, excuse me, will almost certainly regret standing against us. Tristan will do what is necessary to create. Sometimes one must first destroy. Right, this illness has damaged my health. I'll need to rest before I'm fully recovered. So we've got 39 seconds left on the vitality. We should be fine. Talk-wise, let's bring Yzabet back into... Well, they're already in the fold, but let's move them up. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. So 283 seconds is a long time to wait on that evidence, but... I really wanted that subtle fracture. Light dews the skin and suffuses the air. The invisible arts, Christopher Loppley is said to have remarked, as profitable as macrame, as ethical as tobacco smuggling, and in general as beneficial as roulette. Still, there's always the Orchard of Lights, and indeed the orchard, with its glowing fruit and its peaceful mists, is a place to be yearned for. Last night, I walked there in the peaceful hours of the deep night. Even after waking, I still carry with me a little of the glory of the old sun. Right, so affliction and vitality to get us back to health. Keep an eye on the investigation. Basically let the timer run down for as long as possible. It does mean we're going to lose a lot of this mystique, but that's life, right? We're going to lose that at some point anyway. Blood pumps bright and then dark. They should not have opposed us. We move on. Okay, so I gotta make a decision in terms of what I want to... Well, actually, you know what? I can't even decide on the mystique. It's gotta be all notoriety at this point. Let's do a painting about my contentment. So in 20 seconds, I'm going to be able to go back to the white door. That means in 80 seconds, I'm going to be able to... go back to the Mansis, and it's very unlikely that I'm going to get an influence that I need, but that's why we're going there, so we'll try for it. But with that in mind, we're actually at a good time to end because it would be nice to read Lord Franklin Bancroft's diaries in one go. So that will be, I believe, tomorrow's stream should be Friday. So it gives us something to look forward for before the weekend. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you've not subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so, especially if you enjoyed the episodes. You also have the option of the little bell beside it for notifications for the videos. And if you are new to the channel and wondering, I do notice there's sometimes a nice big cluster of people who follow and then sort of unfollow or unsubscribe. And I think it's because I do my regular Twitch stuff. So if the Twitch stuff doesn't appeal to you, I don't know whether or not that also goes out in the notifications. But basically, If there's a tag that says stream, that means it's a live stream. It probably doesn't have what you're looking for. Although if you do enjoy just, hearing me ramble about things, or if you just kind of like seeing games played and that's how you enjoy your gaming, you can check those out. But for Cultist Simulator stuff, that's usually going to be up at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And of course, if you'd like to help me get these videos noticed, or if you just simply like to interact, which I certainly appreciate, you can leave a comment on the video, you can like, or otherwise just engage with it. It does help me get noticed, as does, of course, sharing them with your friends if you think they're into Cultist Simulator. But all the advertising out of the way, thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.